What's up, everybody? It is a Friday edition of the 60-minute love letter to sports we like to call the YSN Power Hour. DJ and Scotty Mincher with you here today on this kickoff to the weekend. Scooter, what's going on, my friend?
Uh, a lot's going on. It's Mother's Day weekend, of course. So it's one of those things where I try to show my mom love every single day because she's done so much for me in my life. Um, every day that some people they maybe wouldn't have to rely on their mom for certain needs and stuff like that. She's been definitely a rock in my life and very strong. So just excited for Mother's Day, and I already got my mom's gift. And also, we got the. I didn't go because I can't miss Power Hour. It's so special to me. But right now, as we speak, we have the Purple Cat prom going on. So
Oh, man, you missed
a big
prom?
day here. I did miss prom, but I went last year, so it's okay. I've gotten a taste of the prom experience before.
What is that experience like, Scotty? I mean, for those who don't know and understand, what's it all about?
It's it's definitely it's a unique experience. I think one of the things I've learned since joining the Purple Cat is a lot of people, they don't understand certain people with certain different developmental or intellectual disabilities. But the thing I've learned in my time at going to Purple Cat, and the thing that makes things fun is a lot of them, 90 to 95% of the time, they just always seem to be in a good mood, and it kind of lifts you up too. And another thing I've come to find is I think people have this idea that people with a certain intellectual disability, uh, and even if it's not physical, like, they're not, like everyone else, and, they're not smart, so to say. But there's people, definitely, I found out that they have their smarts about them. Like, they're they're a lot more like you and me than some people on the surface maybe think. And it's just, I just like seeing and hanging with my friends and seeing everybody happy. And just like me, they want to be treated like anybody else, and not different, or in a patronizing way. So that's the biggest thing I take away from it.
You strike me as the kind of guy that would be spiking the punch at the prom. Is that accurate?
I have not spiked punch at the prom as yet, in the proms I've attended, but I have been given some, we'll just say, some special juice,
Little
that,
Snoop juice, little gin and juice.
yeah. So I I have my ways to get that good feeling going.
Oh
And
my gosh, are you the guy that needs a drink to go dancing?
I yeah, I kind of do. I'm embarrassed to say, but I'm like I get nervous like dancing. So if I have a drink in me or a couple of drinks, it calms the nerves, and then I'm ready to just go all out and bust all sorts of moves. So
The world wants to know, Scotty. The world is watching, and they want to know what is the go-to dance move for Scotty Mincher.
I love my go-to dance move. I love raising the roof. That's yeah.
Little raised roof.
I just love getting those. It probably looks really silly right now, but that's my go-to move. How
Dude,
about
there's so
you,
many.
DJ?
I've got. Listen, my middle name is Dance Move. It is like it's so much so that when I'm dancing around the house, that the kids have picked up my dance moves.
So I'm guessing you could. You're not bashful. You can dance in front of
I didn't say
everyone.
I didn't say I can dance well, but I give it my best effort, right? So I have a little bit of coordination, a little bit of rhythm, get down, but the kids are the best dancers. I mean, what Z can do and what B can do are amazing. B was dancing with cereal. The Jonas Brothers were on television this morning, and she was all about it. I mean, she put one scoop of cereal in her mouth, and then she was just boogieing back and forth. For a 1 year old, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I know Z. I know
Oh,
he's got the moves
he's
too.
been working on the gritty. Like he's been doing the gritty in the house, and he's been working on it pretty good. B's got it going too. She's been working on the gritty herself. Um, Z, I mean, he's
How
got all kinds of dance moves.
how old is B?
B's just what 18 months, so a year and a half.
Okay, yeah, I figured she wasn't much more than a year, and then Z's
5,
what's
just
he's
turned 5.
5.
Yep,
Wow. Okay.
and he acts like he's 15. I mean, he's
Yeah, he
constant
does. I
act.
was gonna say he's definitely mature beyond his years.
No, don't you start with that. Don't you start with that. He's not mature. He needs a little bit of a helping. He's been giving back talk lately, but that's not what we're here to talk about, Scotty. What are we here to talk about today?
I wanted to get your thoughts. I talked about it a little bit with Anthony the other day and got his thoughts, and I shared some of mine on Running Point. But one of the stories I found to be really interesting this week, and I find so much of the content for me it's educational because I go to work at Purple Cat. I do things like therapy like we talked about last week, and i don't always I don't always get to catch every single game, but I'm always keeping up now on YSN, and at least reading up and seeing what's going on, what's happening, the stories. And the one that really kind of struck me was the one about sports, and kind of when an athlete hits a wall and there's that uh, kind of boredom with sports. They get to a place where maybe they're just like they don't know where to go as
Mhm.
far as the routines and stuff go. So I basically wanted to know from you, DJ. You're one of the most driven and motivated people that I know, but I know, like we talked about last week, you've shared with me the stories and moments in your life where life gets hard, and it's hard to get up and get motivated and get out of bed. So when you're in that rut, DJ, I was just wondering for you, what do you do to kind of get out of a funk? Do you go to do you go to a playlist? Do you read maybe a motivational book? Do you put on an inspirational clip from a movie? What are some of the things you do to get you back in a good frame of mind again?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you brought this up because I was actually on a walk this morning, and I've been taking a lot more walks lately around town, and people follow the victory lap and things of that nature. But one of the things that I do almost religiously is daily, and what I do is I go on and I look up motivational videos and speeches and things of that nature, and I just go, just walk. You know what I mean? Just or if I'm doing a lot of stories or something like that, where I know that I'm just going to be stationed for a while, I'll put the headphones on or put the speakers on and let it just talk about motivational. And what it does for me is it gets me in a certain mindset, right? Because it's easy. I'm a firm believer that you are what you listen to. You are what you surround yourself with. And so many, it's so easy to get negative. It's so easy to get negative all the time about everything you do. And, I just don't like the way that I feel whenever I hear negativity. I don't like the way that it makes my brain work. I don't know like the way that it creeps into the work ethic and slows everything down, slows down the mechanism. So I choose to be positive and listen to people that have been positive and motivate others to do that. And yeah, today's was there were some good ones. I mean, there's the one that I always listen to, like it's always a good one about making your bed, right? So you the one thing that you accomplish every day is you make your bed. So if you have a good day, that's great. It's the first thing that you do every day is you check something off your list. And if you have a bad day, at least you come home to a bed that's made and you made it. So I do love watching and listening to motivational pep talks and things of that nature. So it gets me pumped up and amped up. Ronald Bertuno says Louisville track team having a great year. Congratulate! I actually heard about this yesterday. I got a call from John Mang about the Louisville track team. Congratulations, Rockets, on having a fantastic year. What do you do for motivation, Scotty?
I music is a big part of it, as you can probably see by my post. But I'm also a big movie fan as well. And I remember there was a time, DJ, I don't know if I ever told you this, really. I'll go into um, some of my struggles a little bit here, but there was a time where, I graduated high school and I really didn't know what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I knew it wanted to be something, with I wanted to somehow be involved in sports in some way, but I didn't know if I wanted to go to college, what I wanted to do about it. So for a while, I was just stuck in kind of this rut in this um, period where I wasn't in the healthiest place mentally in my thought life. There was a lot of, sort of negative thoughts and some depression kicking in. And then luckily through uh, services called BVR, um, and they help people with disabilities find work. This was a little before I even started at the Purple Cat. And eventually, long story short, I think I told you this, I landed a summer internship with the Scrappers, and I would help score games and put videos up on the video board. But one of the big videos that summer, in the summer of 2010, and I didn't start working at the Purple Cat until winter of 2010, But when I got my first taste of what it was like to work in sports and work in baseball, one of the big motivational videos we would put up was the scene from Rocky Balboa, the 2006 one with Sylvester Stallone, when he talks about life and how no one's gonna hit harder than life, and that's still one of my favorite sports movie moments to this day, one of my favorite sports movie quotes. So I either go something, I either go with music, or I'll turn on something like Rocky or another thing that's another sports movie with a great quote to really get me going.
What's interesting about that Rocky quote, and it's the one where he talks about how hard you, like you said, how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. I'm not sure that anybody really understands that quote, because people, at least to me, the majority of athletes and coaches and people nowadays think that they're just going to get kind of rained on and then the sun's going to shine inevitably, right? But I don't think that people necessarily realize or can internalize the fact that nothing's guaranteed. You're not guaranteed to be a winner, right? And that quote is how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. And you're going to take punches. How many of those punches can you take and keep moving the chains, right? Keep going inch by inch, yard by yard down the field. It doesn't say take a couple punches and then it's going to let up. There's so many people that are doing the work because they think it's going to get easier as they climb that ladder, and it's the opposite. The work gets harder, you just get stronger and are able to handle more along the way. And I think that is a misconception among people that are chasing championships and chasing their dreams and chasing whatever it is that they're going after. Is they think that, okay, if I get this done, then I look at it as a mountain, right? If I get this hand up the mountain and this foot up, and I push myself up, that it's going to get easier. No, it's going to get more challenging, and you just know that you're taking it brick by brick, one step at a time, however you want to put it. There's so many people that look at that movie and think that, and quote that line in the movie and think they're going to win no matter what. They just have to wait it out. That's not what the quote means. It's not about waiting. It's about how much you can handle, how much you can take, the ass whoopings that you can take day in, day out, night in, night out, morning in, morning out. And life is going to beat you down to your knees and keep you there if you let it. That's what he says. And I don't think people will ever understand that, if you let it, and some people just like myself, I don't let life keep me down for too long. Now, it's okay to take a knee every once in a while, right? So it's okay to take a break. But Scotty, so many people need to understand that just because you show up to a place does not mean that you're given a spot in line. Just because you are part of the team doesn't earn you a starting spot. Just because you are in a tournament does not mean you should get a trophy. And I think that we need to start looking at things a little bit different nowadays. I took a little bit of heat from the sectional championships and conversation that we had yesterday. And, a lot of people saying, hey, sectional championships, and I'll say one of the people that work with us says, hey, that's sectional championships where you start. I don't disagree, but I don't think you celebrate where you start. You celebrate where you finish, right? That's where that's what you want to celebrate. And I would argue, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Scotty, not too many people are celebrating or at least even looking into saying, hey, at the end of the season, we want to be sectional champions.
No, I don't think so. and it could be a good start, a building block, but there's a difference to me, DJ, a huge difference between knowing that it's a building block and then as opposed to celebrating it as this, big victory. I think that's where the big difference lies. You could use it as a motivator to, catapult you to something greater, but it shouldn't be the end all be on. I mean, I'll give you another example. Just yesterday, I had therapy again, and I just wasn't, for whatever reason, my energy level wasn't as good as last week, and I thought I started bad. Like I wasn't doing, at least as far as my expectations went, I wasn't doing as well standing as I'd hoped for. But at the end of the day, we kept working at it, kept working at it. And by the time a half hour went by, 45 minutes went by, 50 minutes, I got stronger and I finished a lot better than I started, but I realized that the 24 feet that I celebrated the week before, like it felt great, and it was something that I think I could continue to build on, but I also had that moment yesterday where, man, this is just the start. Like, if I ultimately want to get there, I'm gonna have to continue to just grind every day and put so much work in. Like, it doesn't come easy, and it's just one of those things. I had a moment yesterday where I'm like man, like I celebrated that last week, but now like this isn't on record, nobody's watching. Now what am I gonna do to make myself be even better, motivate myself, and be able to slowly get there, because it is a grind, and there's gonna be a lot of times where I fail. It's like baseball where you could be the best, but you still fail a lot more than you succeed. And I kind of forgot that for a second, that yeah, I did great last week, but it doesn't do you anything for tomorrow or the next day. So I think it's something that everybody should keep in mind.
Well, and there's a lot of people out there that'll say, "Well, what have you done for me lately?" Or what is this team or this what we're contributing to, company, whatever it may be. What have you done for me lately? And I think people forget the opportunities that are given. Like everybody talks about a job. We're gonna get to Sam's comment in just a minute. Um, when you have a job that you're with for 10 years, and people, you start getting that comfortability with that employer, and all of a sudden, you don't get a raise or you don't get a promotion because of one thing or another, and all of a sudden you hate that job. You're miserable at your job, and people are telling you, well, you need to change. You need to change the scenery, things of that nature, but you don't put into that kind of narration that job took you in when you were miserable at your other job, or they gave you your first job, or they've given you 6 promotions along the way, or they've given you raises throughout, and they've given you an opportunity to do what you love. Like, I think there's a word out there that I really truly wish that people would be more grateful for things that they earn, things that they get, things that they have in their life, and things that can be taken away at any moment. And I think that there's to be gracious, to be grateful for things is a lost art, not only in sports, but I think across the board. I think coaches can be ungrateful for talent that they have on their roster because sometimes they can be a pain in the ass. I think that student athletes and athletes in general can be ungrateful for parents showing up to their games or their matches. They can be ungrateful for the things that they're provided. When you talk about equipment, when you talk about opportunities, when you talk about coaching, people that are volunteering their time basically to make them better. And parents can very oftentimes be ungrateful for what coaches are doing. Talk about volunteerism. You talk about what their young people, their children are sacrificing in order to represent them. So grateful is to be grateful, I think, is something that people have lost along the way somewhere. Because right now we think everything's owed to us, and I think the biggest thing to remember is a lesson that I've learned very early in my life is that nothing is ever owed to you. And LeBron said it, I think, very well when he said that in Northeast Ohio, nothing is given, everything is earned. And I think people need to stop using that as, fancy slogan and start implementing it in their life, because it truly is the way it is. Here's a chime in from Sam, 440 Sports Show, saying it's the first hurdle in the race. You can't celebrate it every time, but it's an accomplishment to start off. I agree. I would also say, and I'm not being, this isn't a debate, but I want to ask you, Scotty, and Sam, if you're out there, I'll ask you the same question. Would you go out and buy, we were talking about hat and t-shirt games, right? Sectional championships, technically a hat and t-shirt game. Would you go out and buy a Cleveland Browns wild card champion t-shirt and hat if it was available?
No, I honestly, I wouldn't do that. And I think DJ, because like when they did win that wild card game, and I know, we joke with each other a lot, and you say, oh, Cleveland fans, they hold on to things, and the Steelers have always kind of been that big brother that's beat up on the little brother, and then Cleveland has that one shining moment, and that they still talk about it, years later. But it's one of those things, to me, um, it's just not, especially in something like the NFL, where it's built for parity, and you see non-playoff teams, a team that was in last place the year before go from first. You see that an awful lot in the NFL. So it's like, why are we sitting here celebrating? Like, I think this is how I put it to you, DJ, when it happened a couple years ago, when the Browns won that wild card game, but then they lost the week before, or the week after, excuse me, against Kansas City in the divisional round. I said, you know what? From where they were, it was a good season. They made the playoffs. They won a game in the playoffs. It was a good year, but I also saw it as a missed opportunity because, you know, Patrick Mahomes or not, they had the Chiefs on the ropes, and they had the ball with the chance to put a dagger in the Chiefs in that game, and the Browns couldn't get the job done. And you look at them since, the last 2 years they haven't even been in the playoffs. So, people, I don't know. It seems like nowadays we want to celebrate every little thing, every accomplishment. And if it's something that you really worked hard for and, it hasn't happened in a long time, it's fine, to celebrate it for a minute, but it shouldn't be your ultimate like goal. We talk about all the time, if we're not talking about championships and winning championships, then what are we doing this for? And I'll never forget something that you said to me, DJ. You were talking about you don't like when people have this mentality that um, you feel like the way the way you interpret how they come off is not only do they want to start at the same spot as everybody else, but they want to end up there. They want to be in first place at the finish line and they just want it given to them. And life shouldn't work that way. If me and you are putting in the work in and giving it our all and putting in the max time and the max effort, you know, that's why somebody like Tom Brady is Tom Brady. That's why Michael Jordan's Michael Jordan. That's why LeBron's LeBron. Like, now part of it is, they were born with some gifts that other people don't have, but they've also put a ton of work in. So it's something that always has stuck with me is it's fine if we all start in the same spot, but we definitely, especially if you're not putting the work in and you let that complacency set in, you shouldn't end up in the same spot as somebody like you, for example, DJ, who always, looks at the next, hurdle that they could overcome.
Yeah, I mean, there's not to get political, but really, there's two types of people. There's people that want to start in the same spot and as everybody else and earn their way, and not afraid to bet on themselves. And there's people that don't care where you start, but you're gonna finish basically right here is equals to everybody else. Like for me, work ethic and equality from that standpoint in that context is not the same. It's not. If you put the time in the weight room, if you put the time in the film room, you put the time in your craft, and you win a championship, you should not be equal to someone that doesn't put time in, doesn't put the work in, and they still get a trophy as well from that standpoint. That drives me nuts. And Sam chimes in and says, all this at this point in the franchise, yes, meaning he would buy a wild card champion T-shirt, I believe, but he wouldn't if he was a Patriots fan, as it's about what you have accomplished at that point. He adds on as well that I think you should always try to surpass your prior year. If you've never won a sectional, celebrate it the first time, and then the next year make it that expectation and moved on to the districts, continue to winning. I get that. I understand that. However, what are we talking about for a celebration standpoint, I guess is the bigger question, right? If we're sitting there and we're putting up banners on a fence for sectional championships, if we're putting banners on a wall that the Pirates were wild card champions in 2013 or whatever it was, same thing with, I mean, it's different than having Cleveland put up that they were the AL champs, right, in 2016, right?
Yeah.
It's different to me, and while that's still a loss, right? You are representing that particular league.
Entire league.
Yeah, not just a section of a district of a region of the state. Like it's a funnel. It's an absolute funnel, and I would be borderline embarrassed if the Pittsburgh Steelers had 6 world championship titles that they were proud of, AFC championships up on the wall, and then they decided to start putting up wild card championships. Like, to me, that's, I know Sam's talking about expectation, and if you're the Patriots, you don't celebrate necessarily wild card championships, but to me, the expectation's the expectation. Like, the bar is the bar.
As Mike Tomlin likes to say, the standard is a standard.
You're doggone right. And I think that's something that we need to realize. And when you celebrate something, and listen, all celebrations are different, right? You're probably going to celebrate a world championship different than you would, a conference championship or something like that. Sam's adding in. What if they went 5-10 years with no playoffs at all? Are we talking about high school, or are we talking about college, or are we talking about pro? And I think that it does differ in that, because in high school, everybody gets a ticket to the dance, right? Everybody gets that's why I thought high school football was near perfect when they only allowed certain teams in, and it wasn't 16, it was 8, it was 4 at one point. You celebrate that because you got in. I mean, we celebrated in East Palestine because my class was the first to ever have a team in the playoffs in football, right? You celebrate that because that's an accomplishment. You're in. I don't think it's the same when your team gets in automatically to the playoffs and then you have to win 1 or 2 games to be crowned a sectional champion. I think it's different. That's why I think winning districts, you at least have to win 3 games to get there, right? In baseball or softball, and I believe volleyball is the same. Most teams have to win 4 games to win districts. You got to win 6 games to win regionals and 8 games to win state most times. So I don't understand, if you are a team that aspires to be a state champion, why you'd celebrate a sectional championship. That, to me, that's just a little bit off. Sam's going to.
So basically, you're saying, DJ, is like using the Steelers as an example because you brought them up. Mm-hmm. So basically, in your mind, what you're saying is you would never celebrate. You just wouldn't celebrate and go out and buy AFC wildcard champion T-shirt or even a division championship T-shirt. But say they won the AFC again, but they lost in the Super Bowl, you would get an AFC champions.
So that's where it gets tricky, Scotty. And I tried to explain this yesterday. I'm going to try to break it down even more because there were a lot of people that didn't understand the point that I was trying to make. So if we're staying with the Steelers, right, and it's a variable. You can put your team in anywhere. If your team wins a conference championship, to me, that's always the first championship that you talk about inside a locker room. You want to win your conference or you want to win your division, right? So the Steelers, if they win the North, that is mission accomplished, check the box. That is a T-shirt that is worth wearing because you accomplished your goal of beating your rivals for a 17-game season, right? Wear the T-shirt with pride. If you're a sectional or a wild card and you just get in, because we've seen wild card teams that have losing records get into the playoffs and then they win. Would you then go and buy a T-shirt that said wild card champion because you won 1 game in a losing conference that there are teams that should be there more than you? I don't believe any team with a losing record in professional sports should make the playoffs. You did not do your job enough times, or I should say this, you did your job not as well more times than you did better than another team.
And, and it's funny, DJ, because that's gonna kind of tie in. I don't want to spoil it too much, but that's gonna tie into what my spark was gonna be about today. So it's funny that you bring that up. I agree with you. And it seems like um, using baseball as an example, like the AL Central, it seems like it's heading that way. Like I can realistically see the division champion in the AL Central only, a couple games over 500 or right at the 500 mark or even a few games. Like it just seems like a terrible division. And it's like, what are we, what are we doing here? It's sometimes like because football is such a war of attrition and a grind, and the AFC North, not every year, but a lot of years, it's been a top division in football. I mean, we've had three teams come out of the division and make the playoffs because it's been a great division for a lot of years. I think you can celebrate a division title, but
I
as
think
far as like
you should
wild,
always celebrate a division title. A division title, again, your job during the regular season is to win your division. Pure and simple, right? And then it moves to you get to what Mike Tomlin calls the tournament. And I think that we should look at the same way for high school sports and amateur sports in general. But Sam points out at all levels, when you're in a slump or never succeeded at all, I think you celebrate the turnaround, not like a championship though. So is that a picture? Right? Like if you take a picture, I have zero problems, zero, with people celebrating with the picture of the sectional championship. I have zero. Same thing with a wild card. Okay, you want to put it on social media, you want to put it on your website. I've got no problem with that. Zero. Absolutely zero. In fact, I not that I'm anybody, but I encourage it because those are moments in time, right? I think we're getting celebrations and moments in time, captured moments in time, confused and intertwined. I think you can take a picture, right? That's a picture game. Sectionals, picture game. Districts, t-shirt game. Regionals, that's a letterman, right? You get those fancy letters that you put on your jacket. Regionals, you should have that put on your letterman jacket. State champion, you get the big trophy, you get the t-shirt, you get basically everything. It's like Price is Right. So for me, a celebration and capturing a moment in time are two different things. And I think that we're getting it twisted and people are kind of getting, okay, so there we go. So there, clarification. I agree there. Because I think that if someone came in wearing a sectional champion or a wild card champion t-shirt, I think they would get some eyebrows raised. You know what I mean? Because it's an interesting concept. And I do agree that it should be captured. If it is a t-shirt, it's one that you're just putting in a box, maybe putting in your trophy case or whatever, just to display it. But from a standpoint of, does it measure up? Does it mean anything? I don't think so. Let's check out Eric Collins. Sorry, happy day today. LeBray wins the MVAC. Great conference. Great job for this young team. with a huge statement game win against a great team in Garfield, 13-1. Congratulations, LeBray, on winning the MVAC. Interesting, Eric. I don't know if you're still here, but let me ask you this. Would you celebrate more the MVAC crown or a sectional championship at this point in what LeBray's doing? So if you're able to answer that, we'd appreciate it. And obviously, he doesn't speak for the school district or anything like that. It's just topic. We're talking. That's exactly what we're doing. And he doesn't have to answer at all. But I always it just, it's not that it bothers me. Like, people think that this stuff bothers me, but topic of like maybe it's like 2 minutes of my day that I think about this. But then it starts eating at me, and it's like, oh wow, okay. Why does it eat at me? Because I think that we do live in that society right now that everybody wants that trophy, right? And it doesn't matter what trophy they get as long as they get something, right? So that's where DJ draws the line, because I'm not a participation trophy. I do not like it. I don't even necessarily want my kids being part of that. Not that I would go the way of James Harrison and have them turn in their trophies back, their participation trophies or second place trophies back into, their coach or anything. But I think I would probably take my son or daughter aside and have a conversation and say, listen, that's great that you got a trophy, but you have to understand what you got it for. And what we strive to be, especially in sports and in life, is you want to be the best. You want to cheer for your teammates first and foremost, but you want to compete and be the best at whatever you do. And Scotty, you said something, being patronized, right, earlier. To be able to get a trophy in fourth or fifth place, to me, that's just patronizing somebody. And to me, it agitates me. And I'm a hothead. I'd probably throw it either away or I'd throw it off a wall somewhere.
If we can continue on this, because this has been really fun for me, I had one more thing for you,
Sure.
DJ. I forget who it was in the comments, but they brought up, it's different depending on the expectations and stuff like that. But for you, because as Mike Tomlin said with the Steelers, the standard is the standard, and every year they expect, not only to make the playoffs, but in Pittsburgh every year you're expected to be a legit contender for that Super Bowl. Now, on the flip side, the Pirates, for a very long time, aside from a couple years, they've been a very poor franchise, a ton of last place finishes and things like that. And getting back to the expectations part of it, DJ, and I know they've hit, it's been a real rough patch recently, but let's just say, play the fun hypothetical game here, because it doesn't look like their division is loaded with juggernauts. But also, with that being said, I think most people, including yourself, expected the Pirates to be, if not the worst, one of the worst teams in baseball at the beginning of the season. So if the Pirates, say they win the wild card this year, and it would be something that nobody expected, like, would it cross your mind, like, would you consider buying that shirt because it's the first step, or no?
Nope. I'd be much more interested in buying just a Pittsburgh Pirates shirt in general. You know what I mean? It's that's not what I get behind. Now, like, if it's on sale for like $3, one day, that's different, right? But I don't celebrate wild card championships. Like, it was a cool moment, and I think the moment was more And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like the moment that the Pirates were in the wild card and the blackout happened, the Cueto game and all that stuff, like that was incredibly special for so many different reasons, right? And I think that's what Sammy's trying to get at is, when you get to that moment, you want to celebrate that, but there was more work to be done. And I think most people look back at that year that the Pirates had, and it was a special year, but they won, I want to say they won 92 games, something like that. And to just have a wild card championship that I'm not even, and I hope they don't have it waving somewhere in that stadium on a wall or on a whatever somewhere. There's so much left. There's so much left, and I like, again, if this is, especially for the Pirates and people, like I tell you all the time that the Guardians fans are spoiled. Pittsburgh fans are incredibly spoiled with all the championships that they've had in their city. And I told you, if the Pirates win, I will cry my eyes out because it's something I've wanted to see since I was a little boy. But I will say,
me for the Browns.
right. I'll say this though, is if we get all wrapped up in wild card championships or even, divisional championships, then what are we working for? Like, I'm watching the Pirates for 6 months at a time, and I want to see a world championship. Great. You're gonna win a wild card. Phenomenal. You're gonna get to the playoffs. Great. What are you gonna do? And I guess that's the thing is, maybe it's, the standard is the standard, but what is your standard? What is your personal standard for how you want your teams to be, the people that you surround yourself with, and you yourself? Because I think if you're more apt to let people off the hook, right? If you're willing to let yourself off that hook. And I think the higher and the higher standard that you hold yourself to, you want to hold the people around you that are closest to you to that standard. And that involves the teams that I cheer for. And does it suck that the Pirates, suck, and, they haven't been good for a long time? Yeah, it does. But that's, to me, it's championship or bust. You set out to do a job every year. And if you don't get it done, then it's a failure. It's a failure. And not that you're a failure because of it, but the job is not done. It's unfinished business. And I think when you look at kind of the standard that you put on yourself, you can read a lot of who a person is by how they keep the expectations up for their friends and their business partners and associates and things of that nature, and what they do at their place of work. So I know this took a hard left turn, but Scotty, to get back to the original point, if it ain't a championship, we're not celebrating. At least in my circle, that's just how it is. If it's not a championship, we can take a picture of it. We can capture that moment in time, but we're not celebrating unless it's a championship. Unless it's a trophy that says you are the best, we don't celebrate.
So, like, the Pirates, they go ahead and win the division. From what I gathered from you, say they don't win the wild card, but they win the division this year. I know you're not the type of guy, if they would win it just next year, in the year after, and have early playoff exits, you would buy a shirt. But if they won it this year and they were champions of their division, I'm assuming you would buy it for this year.
I mean, it just depends on what the shirt looks like, I guess. Like, I don't know. Again, I'm a championship or bust guy. You can celebrate a division championship, but like, if you're not winning the world championship and that's your ultimate goal, then why are we investing in that? Why are we you want to clap for it? Awesome. But to put $20, $30, whatever a t-shirt is now when they come out, that's an investment. And if if I'm investing in my team better be investing in my feelings, and they better be winning a world championship. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's actually it's actually part of it was gonna be part of my spark.
Well, let's get to the
And
sparks then.
yeah, let's do it.
Here we go. It's a Joe Dickey Electric. What's your spark? Presented by Joe Dickey Electric. Anything commercial, residential, industrial, anything electrical. Make sure you tell them that Scotty Mincher sent you. Head over to DickeyElectric.com. All right, Scotty, you've been alluding to it all broadcast long. What is your spark?
Okay, my spark. So, you know, and we've kind of we've had a lot of talks in Jazz DJ, about our sports fandom and the differences, being a Pittsburgh sports fan, being a Cleveland sports fan. But my spark today, it has to deal with the Guardians and just the fact that they have been so lackluster. Um, they're fortunate that they play in I think it's the weakest division in baseball by far. And if they didn't, they would be out of the race already. I think in a lot of different divisions. And there was some guy that used to work for this network. I won't say his name, but there was some guy that said the beginning, middle of last year that the Guardians had everything in place to have a run like they had in the 90s, where they made multiple trips to the World Series. And he said that, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, let's slow things down here. Like, yes, this is a nice year. Yes, they're the youngest team in baseball, but they're gonna have to do better and progress and do it again and again. And to me, the Guardians have regressed, and I just don't see them as a true contender for the World Series this year. Yes, I still think they could win the division, but they play in the division of the little sisters of the poor. So it's just very frustrating. We'll see what moves the front office makes, but put it this way: this is the final thing I'll say. Earlier this week, the Guardians had 10 home runs as a team this season. There were 6 guys earlier this week that had 10 home runs or more by themselves. So I think it tells you all you need to know about the Guardians. And I am not nearly as optimistic about them as somebody else was that worked at this network. And it's like, what are they doing here? I don't know if it's the right plan, and it's frustrating as a fan.
I get it, man. I get it. My spark is going to be Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. First and foremost, I Mother's Day to me is one of the most deserving holidays of the year. And it was I'm a mama's boy, right? First and foremost, my mom, who right now is under, well, I don't know if I know she started supposedly at about noon, undergoing a procedure to hopefully help her out with her health. And we've been thinking and praying of my mom today, and I appreciate all the thoughts and prayers that you guys sent our way. My mom means everything to me, just from a standpoint of who I am. Right, my mom was the person that she didn't like the way that things were headed, and changed her career up when I was very young, and decided that she wanted the best for her son and daughter, and became a registered nurse. So it's very apropos and appropriate that it's National Nurses Week as well. I have a very very great respect and appreciation for nurses, no matter what letters come after their name. My mother was a registered nurse, and she is one of the greatest people in my life, and I wish her the greatest of Mother's Days. And I also want to give it to, you know, what I think is the greatest mother in the world. It is my wife, and Sarah is an amazing wife first and foremost, but she is a absolutely stellar mother. She loves those kids with every fiber of her being, and she wants great things for them, and will make sure that they grow up and be great contributors to the world and to society, and hopefully do great things. So happy Mother's Day, Sarah, and happy Mother's Day, Mom. I love you. That's going to do it for the Power Hour for today. I will be back on Monday. Scotty will be back next Friday, and we will catch you all through the weekend right here on ysnlive.com. Don't miss a thing. Head on over ysnlive.com/live, and we will talk to you on Monday. Scotty, peace out. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, man. It was a blast. Happy Friday. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
YSN thanks you for